Hi, I'm Perry Atkinson, General Manager here at theDove. Hey, check out our other videos and check out our website at theDove.us. Welcome back. Well, one of the greatest international attention that has occurred lately is the case that surrounds the Marine Sergeant Andrew Tahmooressi. Now, he's the gentleman that drove through the Mexican border and couldn't make the U-turn to get out. Well, one of the gentlemen that helped him is a gentleman by the name of Philip Dunn, and he's a trial attorney, founding member of the Baja Ministries, and he's also president of the Serving California Foundation. Now, he spent the last several months providing legal counsel and support to Marine Sergeant Andrew Tahmooressi, who was released, by the way, this past weekend. And then, of course, last night was featured as an incredible guest there with Greta on Fox News, who really spent a lot of time working hard to see that he get released. And it all happened by him driving through the border. His car was loaded with all of his personal belongings, including guns and ammunition. And he, excuse me, and he really thought he was getting through the border to get into the United States. Well, since then, if you've seen the videotape of how easily it is to get confused driving through that section of the border, and there's literally no place to make a U-turn, realizing that you've gone the wrong way. And as he drove through, he was stopped, and he was asked what he was doing, and he said, "I made the wrong turn. I just want to get back inside the United States. Who are you? What do you have?" And at that point, right up front, he admitted that he had some guns in the car. And the first gentleman that stopped, and apparently was fairly understanding and was trying to do his best maybe to help turn him around and head him in the right direction. But another officer came over, and things radically changed from that point. And he was put into prison. He was abused. He was allowed to have conversations now and then with an attorney. And what Philip had done, it was work hard to get him freed and to get him good legal counsel. So let's see here. I think we're going to get him on the phone here in just a moment. We had a little bit of a problem getting him on Skype. So, Philip, are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hey, sorry about the technical problems. Thanks for your time this morning. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, a couple of things. Tell us about, what is Baja Christian Ministries? What do you do?
Well, for about 25 years, I've been on their board of directors, and what we do is we go down to Mexico in the Baja Peninsula, and we build homes, and we can do them in a weekend. And we have been doing, we've probably done about 2,000 over the last 25 years. So
wow.
Yeah, so we're able to, it's like an erector set. All the wood's cut, the foundation's down, and in the course of about, some of them are built in less than 12 hours.
Wow.
And at the end of that time, you hand the keys to the family and you ride off into the sunset. It's a pretty exciting thing to do.
That's wonderful. And then what is the Serving California Foundation?
Serving California has three major prongs to it. One is that we do what's called the Urban Ministry Institute in 22 prisons in California, and we have about 1,000 inmates that are studying in a 3.5-year Christian theological program. And we like to say they're going from prisoners to pastors, and they become quite evangelical, and so we're trying to change the culture of the prisons, take back a very evil and dark place for Jesus Christ. And then when they get out, they can do the same when they get out onto the streets and become pastors in their own communities in the places where it's most needed. So
that's wonderful.
It can make a very significant difference. The other major portion is our veterans program, and it's called the Mighty Oaks Warriors. And we've had about 500 veterans or active duty personnel Marines and soldiers come through Skyrose Ranch, most of them suffering from post-traumatic stress, and there they have probably the only Christian-based program for post-traumatic stress, and we've had 500 come through, and we've had no suicides, even though countrywide we have, by some estimates, 23 a day. So
wow.
We are very, very happy about the success of that program and the fact that it is something that is actually being recommended by the Marine Corps in Pendleton, and Marines come there. Actually, I think we're the only faith-based program where they come there on orders from Pendleton. So
that's called Serving California Foundation. Well, Philip, how did you get involved in Marine Sergeant Tahmooressi case? How'd you get involved in that?
That was through the director of our veterans programs, a man by the name of Chad Robichaud, who did 8 tours in Afghanistan, and he was contacted about Andrew Tahmooressi because he is a Marine, and Marines never leave a man behind. And so he was in touch then with Jill Tahmooressi and explained my connections to Mexico, as you heard, through Baja Christian Ministries. And so we were able to get a pastor to go see Andrew on a regular basis because he was struggling mightily. He'd been diagnosed with PTSD. And so he was able to get spiritual help 3-4 times a week from one of our pastors there. And then, having been a criminal defense attorney for 30 years, I went with Jill to Mexico. And the first thing I discovered is that the attorney at the time was incompetent, is the best way to put it quickly. And so we hired another lawyer who is a very, very courageous, capable lawyer in Mexico by the name of Fernando Benitez. And so I went to all the hearings with Jill and was with her and helped prepare the evidence on this side of the border as to, would he got caught sort of in a vortex sucking him into Mexico once you get on the 5 freeway. So I represented him on this side of the border and helped Fernando on the other side of the border.
Well, it was a case that got international attention, very little support from the current administration in Washington, and yet all of a sudden the judge just said, okay, you're out of here after all of this. What do you think happened?
Well, actually what happened was there was a lot of evidence presented, and it was presented over a series of hearings. So it's not like a trial that we would have, which just starts and goes through until it ends. It's done in segments. So we presented a lot of evidence as to his innocence, including the video evidence that we got from the customs officials at the border, and that clearly showed that he did not intend to go into Mexico. They gave him the green light, and he asked to find a place to turn around, and that's what sent him into secondary inspection, and that's when his troubles began, because he freely told them that he had 3 firearms in the car, but he did not want to go into Mexico. And so once that was established through the evidence and the video evidence at the inspection site right when you cross the border, and then there were 3 independent diagnoses done of his post-traumatic stress, all of that made it very clear that he did not intend to go into Mexico with firearms, which is a complete defense. And so basically the prosecution conceded, and that is why the judge ordered his immediate release.
Now he begins his healing process. How's he doing?
I think he's doing well. It's for a man who was diagnosed with PTSD before he spent 7 months in a Mexican prison, and was in one of the worst prisons in the world at La Mesa before he was transferred to El Hongo and put into isolation. I think he's doing well, and he's exhilarated to be home, but there's a big transition there. And obviously he's been through a lot of trauma, both through his service in Afghanistan and what happened to him in Mexico. So some of this takes a while to just level off and see where you're at. And I think that the expectation is that he'll be participating in our Mighty Oaks program beginning December 3rd. And I think that'll be a very healthy thing for him, because one thing we know is there were an awful lot of people who were praying for him and praying for his release.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of spiritual guidance which sustained him when he was in prison. So
is he aware of that? Is he aware of that now?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
You know, Jill Tahmooressi is a very strong Christian woman, and boy, you know, the one thing he did have access to was a phone where we talked to him almost every day and prayed with him. So
that's wonderful. Hey, listen, we're running out of time. Just one last question. It seems to me that, unfortunately, our administration went quiet on this. You have any idea why they didn't push harder?
Well, that's the nature of diplomacy. So the reality is, having known what was going on at the time, is that John Kerry did speak to their Secretary of State about the case, and that the local consulate was very active and engaged in making the necessary diplomatic effort with the prosecution to convince them that this is not a case that they should really fight. And so that's the nature of diplomacy, is that when you have those kinds of efforts, if you let it be known publicly, then it destroys the effort, because in Mexico there's a very strong nationalistic leftist portion of their voting populace that if they knew that this kind of effort was going on, they would have reacted very hostily.
Wow. Well, Philip, thank you for your time. I wish we had more. Let's hook up again. But thanks for your service, both with Baja Ministries and also Serving California Foundation. And let me say to our viewers and listeners, you can learn more about it and get involved by going to servingcalifornia.org. Mr. Dunn, thank you, my friend. Blessings upon you for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
All right, we'll be right back.
All right, bye.